One, one, one art, one shot. Now the future is yours. Go. One shot for the kill, the breeze come freeze up, straight dropping the kills. I'm talking taking over pieces and shares, a ball break sky high, check the movement is here, yeah. It's one heart, one shot, now the future is yours, go! Turning dreams into reality. In the lab with the formula and chemistry. The memories spark and motivate and make the industry shake. We put the balls in the brakes. I'm talking one chance at best, yes. Painting pictures for the culture, keep the brushes fresh. Flip the cover with the drummer, passion never rests. Freedom is our teacher under pressure, now we blessed. See, I was so good for the go. There's one art, one shot, now the future is yours. Go! Yeah. It's one art, one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
Evening, what's up, man? How you doing?
Not much. Just setting up my last tweet here. You caught me in the middle of it.
Oh yeah, I caught you in the middle of it. Jeez, yeah. I just posted live. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing tonight? Tonight should be a real fun night. I'm excited about this. Steve W., who takes photos? Come on, you're starting to sound like camera conspiracies or something. Who takes photos? Yeah. I love taking photos. Don't you like taking photos, Kyle?
I do.
There's something about...
I'm definitely more into it now than I ever used to be, I think.
What's funny, because I started off not really for photos, mainly for video. And I don't know, there's something about photography that's just kind of fun and, different. You get... and it's way easier to correct a lot of your mistakes in posts in photography than it is for video stuff. If you don't get your white balance just perfect in video and you don't get your exposure right, it's a lot harder to go back and fix that. But with photography, you can kind of fix a lot of things in post.
You could make,
and there's a lot of great programs out there for that, right?
You can there's a photo I have that looks super good. I haven't really shared it a lot before. It's somewhere on my Instagram. Everyone really liked it a lot, and they thought it was a superb photo and all this. And I'm like, literally, I shot this on the iPhone 3. And I just put it in Lightroom and made it look good. And it looks like a really pro photo. It was like in somewhere in Paris when we were in Europe a while back. So, but it's funny that you can make not great photos look better. And that's pretty cool. And that's why I like editing.
So just for everybody here that is here tonight, we are going to, at the kind of in the middle end, whatever, after we talk a little bit about the programs that we think are the best in 2022 and kind of what we use, we're going to do some live editing. So if in the description of the video there is a Google Drive file or form, you can just go there, upload a raw photo or a number of different photos, or you can do JPEGs, but RAWs are better to edit. But Kyle and I are going to go through some people who have submitted photos a little bit earlier today, and we're going to just go over and do an edit. So later, Kyle's going to edit a photo in his choice of a program, and I'll do my choice. I think Kyle and I have very similar thoughts on that, but we both use... I use Lightroom from time to time, but we both use different programs. But we're not going to get too much into that until now. So, but before we do that, I just want to quickly say hi to everybody. One Vision Ariel, what's up, man? Thanks for checking out the Part 107 video. I finally passed it. Thanks for all the congratulations there. Steve W, what's up, man? Yeah, one day, we'll make it out to Winter Park or whatever. Eventually, I'll see you in person. But until then, thanks for joining us on the streams here. And Mike, Unbox Warehouse, dude, it's great to see you. Haven't seen you in a while, so thanks for joining us, bud. I'm not
It
a
looks
pilot
like
like you are, but at least I have my Part 107 now, so there's that. He's here
Mike
to troll,
says,
but
yep.
we'll see if he's actually still here. Yeah.
Right.
Anyway, so going into the talk of photo editing softwares, what do you think? What is your favorite software, and what do you think is going to be still your favorite here in 2021 or
So
2021,
right,
2022? Man, you definitely get out of those
it was just
20.
2020, and now it's 2022. It's crazy.
Yeah,
I still use Lightroom. I'm the biggest fan of Lightroom. I've used Luminar. There's a lot of awesome features on there if you want to make stuff quick. I'm very much a hands-on, I have to do it myself kind of way. So I'm not as much into the like automated style stuff. And I feel like I've made some better looking photos in Luminar, but I like controlling it myself better in Lightroom. And I have a really weird style, and you guys will see that later. I kind of treat Lightroom and photo editing like I do music editing, and you'll see what I'm talking about later with that. So I might do some stuff that other people don't do necessarily, but we'll get into that later.
Steve edits photos in DaVinci Resolve. Loser.
Can you do that?
It seems like a joke, but okay. I mean, I know
Hey,
that
you
they're
can
great
color
color
grade,
grading,
yeah.
so
Color grade, and then you do that save frame to desktop. Boom, thumbnail. I've done some thumbnails that way, haven't you, Paul?
yeah, I have done a lot of more than I want to do. Let's just put it that way. Matt Bagwell, what's up, man? How you doing, dude? It's great. Thanks for the congrats. Yeah, now I'm moving on to trying to figure out how I'm gonna use it other than YouTube. I mean, Kyle said I have to shoot all his drone footage for his channel now, so
I just need you to
he's
go,
putting me
Paul.
to
Just
work.
take a whole bunch of videos, send me all the stuff, and then I'll just use them somewhere sporadically. Or you can start doing some Peter Lindgren style stuff where you just put him like go out, film a whole
It's
bunch of
so
stuff
good.
one day, and then just use it all throughout your videos.
The problem is like my city is not that exciting. I live outside of Orlando, but my city doesn't look nearly as cool as Sweden does. Some of those city shots are just great. I
You
mean,
know, I bet you Peter thinks his city doesn't look as cool as some of the other places. So I mean, it's all about perspective, Paul. You're used to it, so it's boring to you. But now I'll
yeah,
give you that his city does look pretty cool, but still.
and people say that all the time. Ooh, we got a drone photo update. Somebody emailed it to me, so from here, they didn't follow the stream thing, but that's okay.
You're
That's
gonna have to
okay.
send one to me too, by the way, Paul, because
I
I
know.
don't
I'm gonna have
have
to
them.
forward that to you. Yeah, because you never know who's gonna do this one. But so you're still have you used Luminar? What let's put it this way. What programs have you used?
I've used Luminar as like a free trial for a while. I liked it, but part of me didn't. I don't know. I'm a little both ways on that. I think. I've pretty much started on like Photoshop and Lightroom, and I've just kept with it. I'm probably one of the few people that doesn't use Lightroom Classic, but I don't know. It's just one of those things you start on, you get used to it, you don't really want to move away from it, even though you
Right.
know there's flaws and some things are better. And then right when you think you're about to, then they make updates and then they put some of those features back in. So like Lightroom just had some pretty big upgrades recently with, you know, like selections of skies and subject selections, and you can add layers and change layers and overlap layers, and so you can do some pretty cool stuff now that you can do in Luminar, or Luminar does by itself sometimes. What's up, Preston? Hey, you got that photo from Preston I saw, Paul.
I did. Can you see it in my background?
Is it in your
It's like,
background? No.
well, it's sitting on a chair right behind me. I did it.
I'm still looking for a place to put it in my room. Half my walls are still bare, but Preston, your picture will be up on my wall at some point here. Probably shot on Lightroom, I'm guessing.
So yeah, that was nice. I don't know where I'm gonna put it yet, but it's gonna go somewhere in my new studio here. I like it. It's a really cool. I want to do some of my photos like that metal thing.
The hard
Um,
part about putting any photos in the studio, and this includes the one that are on my walls too, is that I want to find like a glass that's like matte finish so it doesn't reflect really bad. Because I always get like lights reflecting off off the glass, and it bugs me.
yes. One Vision. I did get your email, so I forwarded it to Kyle, so he's got that too. Where is that expensive I gave you? It is on the floor over here. So I'm in the middle of a new studio remodel. So it was on the shelf in my old studio. I had a shelf, and now I have to completely remodel this whole room here. And I haven't decided what my focal wall is going to look like yet. I've toyed around with a lot of ideas, but all the walls in here are gray. I think I'm going to leave it like this. I like that look. I can throw lights on it, and it soaks it up pretty good. But I think the wall behind me, I'm toying with like putting 2 shelves behind me, and on those shelves have a bunch of my Back to the Future knickknacks, the camera stuff, all that kind of stuff that describes me, and then maybe in the middle here having either my logo on like an acrylic sign that lights up, or my charging wall. I don't know. I haven't really decided. So we'll see. And then I'm gonna have another focal wall here, where if there's charging walls behind me, then I'll probably put my logo on this wall. I don't know. I'm still toying with a bunch of ideas, but I'm not rushing it because I don't want to I still want to give myself time. But yes, I still have that mad expensive, awesome JVC camera, and I actually walked around with it for Halloween as I dressed up like Marty McFly this year, and it just added to that costume so much. So don't you worry, that camera is not going anywhere. And yes, it's definitely going to be a pivotal decoration for my studio here. So thank you, Mike. You're that was super. That was mind blowingly generous. So thank you.
So, Paul, what's your editor of choice then for photography?
So I might have given away a little bit, but my editor of choice currently has been Luminar. I started with Luminar 4, and then Mr. Mike Unbox Warehouse. Uh, he purchased Luminar AI for me, and I moved over to AI. I really like that. I like a lot of the templates that they have that gives you a great starting point sometimes when you just are in a mental block, or you're trying to like we talked about earlier,
Yep.
getting out of the same rut. Like if there's the problem with editing photos is you typically will edit the same way every single time unless you kind of force yourself to do a different style.
Mhm.
So what's nice about those templates, or getting other people's Lightroom templates or whatever, you can get a different starting point, and it kind of triggers your con, yourself to do a different
Yep.
edit, and to maybe, I like this, but let's tweak this a little bit more. And so it gets you out of your box. So I really like that about Luminar AI, and just a lot of these really cool tools. I absolutely love like the accent, the shoot. I'm not even saying it right. The enhance like the AI enhance AI structure. I really like a lot of those tools that is in Neo, and or and in Luminar. So I've been liking AI. I've been editing AI in all my photos. I bought Neo, which is their new version that's coming out this year, and I have the beta on my computer. Haven't really used it at all, and I figured tonight on the photo edits that I'm gonna just try editing in it live, and it'll be a new experience for me and for everybody else to see kind of what it does and how fast and easy it is to use. So that's kind of
You,
why I use it. I like to get my edits done quickly, and I'm really interested to see what kind of stacking features it might have for maybe taking a bunch of different exposures. I'm thinking to getting into real estate this year more so. So, and I definitely want to improve that workflow going forward. Even though I might just outsource the editor for those, but it would still be nice to be able to edit a number of the really high end properties myself and not have to outsource those, just so I know I get it done right. So I don't know. But right now, yes, Luminar is my choice. I do use Lightroom from time to time, especially when I want to just have like full control. Even though Luminar is pretty good with that, you can have as much control as you want, or let it do a lot of the heavy lifting, or I like that I can do a combination of both. So, and this new Neo version is supposed to have a lot more, even customizable abilities than adding a lot of those auto masking features that Lightroom is starting to do. It's cool seeing all these, companies like Lightroom having to do a lot of these AI stuff, just because there's so many other programs out there.
Right.
I think that another program that we should talk about too is Capture One, because I think it's the other really good program that has a lot of customizable ability, and it doesn't have a lot of AI features, so to speak, but
it's like Lightroom on like steroids.
Exactly.
Yes.
And I've seen Dunna. If everybody probably knows Dunna. That program is phenomenal, and I really like the color adjusting tools in that program, where you can like select certain like colors and dial them in like perfectly. I think that is just probably one of the most incredible part of that software. I mean, I know that you and I have talked about it a little bit, but what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, like I said before, Lightroom is adapting a lot of, or not adopting, adopting a lot of these features these other programs have, and they just added a whole new like auto mask selection stuff, where you can mask in like luminance, you can mask in color tones, you can add a whole bunch of masks and layer them all differently, and subtract and add throughout different ones. So it's kind of getting some of the stuff that Capture One has. Watching my only experience with Capture One at this point is just watching some of the videos done on it, and it seems very involved, very a little complicated. But I think once you get used to it, it's probably quite a bit different. But it definitely looks really interesting, and I do want to try it out at some point. I actually haven't personally. I don't know if there's like a free trial or something, but I sometimes just get frustrated jumping into new programs right away, and then I'm just like, screw it, go back to Lightroom. So like, we'll see. Even sometimes when the Lightroom adds new features, I'm just like, bah, we don't need that. I'll just keep doing it the way I do it. And
we don't need that.
Yeah. To be fair, like I'm getting into photography more, but still the most stuff I do is for like thumbnails. And when you have kind of a standardized style of thumbnail, you kind of have your go-to edits, and you know what works and what doesn't. Plus, in thumbnails, you oversaturate everything and brighten everything and make everything a little ridiculous. That's something you wouldn't necessarily do in regular photos. So,
yeah. And I haven't really had any experience myself. Have you used any of the knockoff Photoshop programs like Aurora or any of those other ones?
I used some free Photoshop stuff for a long time when I didn't have like right now Photoshop and Lightroom's all subscription based.
Right.
So now it's like what, $10 a month or something like that for Photoshop and Lightroom. So
yep, $10 a month. Yep.
It's hard to go wrong with that. And if you have school EDU stuff, I think you can get the whole package for like $50 a month or something like that. And that's Premiere and Illustrator and everything else. But it's prior to that, I used to log online and type in free Photoshop online and just go to the freebie sites, and it had
like Pixlr and stuff like that.
Yeah, but that's Photoshop. Yeah. That's not really like editing colors and stuff like that, what Lightroom does. So, but I do like that Lightroom connects to Photoshop, where you can just hit a button that says edit in Photoshop.
Absolutely.
And something's wrong with mine though lately, because normally when you're done with Photoshop, you can just click out of it and it's supposed to go back to Lightroom with your edit, but mine's not been doing that lately. So I have to kind of figure out if I'm missing an update or something like that.
Missing an update. Yeah.
Something weird, I don't know.
You just broke it. You're
Oh yeah, like Preston just said actually right here.
What do you say?
Also like that you can switch from Lightroom to Photoshop quicker now. Seems like the programs will merge features over time. There's something going on. Like I logged into, normally I open Photoshop through Lightroom, but today I opened up Photoshop and it brought me some to something else. And I don't know what it was called, but it looked like Lightroom. But it was like it wasn't Capture One, but it was something. It said something else, and I had to like close it out and like open a file just to like get past that. I don't know what I was opening, so I do got to look into that a little bit more myself. So
Absolutely. Sweet.
looks
Yeah.
like we got another one here. Someone's been using Pixelmator Pro for, is that how you say that? Pixelmator Pro for years.
Pixelmator Pro for years. Yeah.
It's got most of the features in form of Lightroom, Photoshop, really good machine learning power tools. Okay. Yeah, I mean,
I haven't used any of those.
I went back to Photoshop and Lightroom because this subscription thing made it really easy. So
I mean, it is. I mean, it's really hard. Now, luckily for me, I work for the school system, and my school, we have the Adobe suite for free, or the county pays for it. So I just got to log in my school account, and I get pretty much the full Adobe suite, anything I want. But before that, I was just paying the $10 a month and having the Photoshop and Lightroom. I mean, you can't really beat that $10. I mean, I hate the subscription plan, but for $10 a month, that's not terrible,
Well, I had it at one time, and my like CS5 or whatever it was, it got to the point where it was outdated, and you're like, oh, I got to upgrade. Wait, I got to pay 200 and whatever dollars to get the whole new plan and the whole new CS6 or whatever that comes out, and then the new one comes out. I would much rather pay $10 a month for something that constantly updates for free than pay $200 every time they put out a new version of something. So I like it way better myself.
And by the way, Alex, I just saw your upload, so cool. We will look at that. And Kyle, you can look at the shared folder. We have another upload. Looks like a Canon shooter there too. So,
Cool.
Deontay, where you guys learn how to use Photoshop and Lightroom, where to wear and feel comfortable now. Well, I mean, I think I know this is going to sound very cliche and normal stuff, but I mean, just practice like it. I think, and then of course, YouTube videos. If I want to, typically how I do Photoshop and Lightroom and all these programs, I just kind of like, all right, let's just search YouTube or whatever and find what I'm looking to do and figure out how to do it. And you just learn a little bit here and there. I love watching YouTube videos of various people edit photos. So like, I just throwing one out that I watch regularly is Dunna did it. He has a lot of great videos regularly where he'll do a lot of like either live edits in his live streams, or he will do a lot of videos where he just breaks down his editing process for photos. And even though he's using Capture One now, he used to use Lightroom, but now the same basic concepts are across every platform. And I don't think there's really a wrong or right way to edit a photo. It's really personal preference. It's art, and it's a lot of just doing it and seeing what you like. Because I like different things than Kyle likes, and Kyle likes to do different things than I like, and I like what he does, and he likes what I do. And well, sometimes, I know sometimes I'm terrible,
it's
but
always about like I showed you earlier when we logged in before, Paul. Is one of the photos I was kind of screwing around with one of the photos that got sent into us. And I made like 3 different versions already, and they're so different from each other, and they all have their own look and style, and so it's like there really is no wrong. I mean, if you're trying to make stuff like just look realistic all the time and make it just look better, there's some right and wrong ways to do things. But as far as like
wait.
stuff, you can just have fun with everything.
Alex, you went to camera camp? Man, I probably know who you are, and I just forgot that I didn't know your YouTube name or whatever. Yeah, camera camp was awesome. It was enough to make me switch, but well, I was already a Sony fanboy at that point. But that means Mike from Unbox Warehouse. You know Mike? Alex, Mike is the guy that had the luggage following him around, and he was on the toilet pot for his one of his photos for our scavenger hunt. Great time. Anyway, are you? Let's see what Mike say. Mike said, "Are videos that Dunna working on still called Gunna?" He did it. Dunna did it. He did it. People who went to camera camp are losers. Well, Yeah, I'm not going to go there. Hey, so Kyle, do you want to start editing some photos?
Yeah. So I had a couple up already, but I can
Yeah,
backtrack so that I can
let's
go.
let you start us off, and I'm going to go in and say that if you guys have any questions about any editors, feel free to shoot them out. But like these are the ones that we've mostly have experience with, and honestly, if you ask Kyle, he's going to say his favorite editor of 2022 is Lightroom, and I'm going to say Luminar. So I think you'll see two different takes on this, and it'll be kind of interesting.
Yeah.
And mindful that for me when I do this today, this is my first time ever using Neo, so the interface looks a little bit different. The only thing I did was opened up today and threw some photos in, and so let's
Personally,
just
my
go
favorite
to
editor of 2021, Paul, was when you just edited my photos for me from Florida. So you were my favorite editor in 2021 because I didn't have to do a
I
damn
was
thing. And you made those photos
that's
look
hilarious.
good. Like we made downtown Disney look like some exotic like place to go. And
That's right. That was right. Yeah, those. I mean, people really like. And the funny part
well,
was that those edits were done in Luminar AI. Now,
yep,
I did a lot of tweaking to them and I modified them. But what's cool about it is a lot of their reflections. I love when you like change out a sky or change out something on the photo that it tries to add those reflections into the photo too. So I don't know. It's a really great. We might see some of that here tonight, but let's
yeah.
go into yours.
Well, that was cool. Like one thing with that is I remember sending one of those to um why am I spacing his name? Jake Sloan or Sloan. Um he posted some like picture from Alaska and I was like, God, the composition of this photo looks exactly like the
Oh, I
composition
remember
from
that.
Ted.
Yeah,
So I posted and he's like, oh man, that photo's sick. And I was like, yeah, yours is like gorgeous Alaska. Ours is downtown Disney fake river. So it's
fake
like a
river.
fake,
Yeah.
yeah. So looks like Eddie and Dobo are in the house. A few people, they must have just finished up here.
Oh, they did. Yeah, it's 2 minutes till 9. They're probably closing up shop. How do I
So
get a
let's
wrench?
see.
Eddie, you want a wrench? I give you a wrench because you are the Drone Brews producer master. There's only so many people that can be an amazing producer for Drone Brews, and so yeah.
Who did sent these photos again, Paul? I just got the like files. The train here and
Oh, did I not see that? I don't know if I've seen the train. Alex
I also can't
Schnook.
tell if what I'm showing on screen because I had to click away. We're good, Paul?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I just got it Lightroom up by myself. So
Oh,
this one,
This one is from. He also is a fellow camera camp person. Um, this is. Oh shoot! I gotta go to my list here. Doo-ba-doo. I'm definitely. It was from Matt Grebe. I don't. I'm not. I'm terrible with names. Sorry, Matt. But he was from Camera Camp. And he shot this with his A7 III, and I believe this shot was the 24 1.4, right?
Yep, looks like
Yep.
ISO 100 shot at 1/5000th of a second, which is super fast. It's definitely, I mean, as you can tell right off the bat, it's definitely on the dark side. I personally like shooting a little bit darker. He clearly exposed the sky, so we can easily fix that with a couple moves. So that's pretty easy. I did make one, Paul, real quick earlier that I kind of just
Yeah.
screwed around with. This is kind of what I was getting earlier with one of the styles or looks I could get, which is
Okay.
a little bit of a softened HDR look. It's not like a crazy clarity or anything. And I did another one earlier that I showed you that was like very hardly shadows lifted and it was almost like brownish tinted. But yeah, if we're just gonna do it, so like when I open this right away, I would see this and just be like immediately the first move I'm gonna do is shadows because that's just what we need done is to lift some brightness in the shadows. It can only go so far, so we're gonna have to do a few different tweaks here. Let me actually minimize this photo a tiny bit here. So yeah, my first thing that I like to do right away is just kind of see like what 100% what the photo needs first. So I'll see need shadows lifted. Exposure could probably bump up just a tiny bit at first. I'm going to drop the highlights a little bit. But you see when I'm dropping the highlights, I'm getting this fence kind of coming
Right.
in. So we might
Yep.
come back to that later. I usually just set my contrast points and lift my shadows a tiny bit more because I like that slightly faded look. So like even right there, just that move alone it's not like edited, I would say, but it definitely looks like a photo for, because before you can't even see anything at all.
I mean, absolutely. This is a hard photo because, um, yeah, and I think I know what he was doing here. He was obviously trying to expose for the sky, right? Because
Right.
I'm
Exactly.
sure if he exposed for the railroad tracks and everything, then his sky would get blown out. And you can, sometimes when you're shooting, what you see is not necessarily what you have to stay with, and you kind of almost got to shoot for the edit a lot of the time. So,
Yeah.
I get what he's doing, but it definitely was. I mean, I might have had everything a little bit brighter, but I get what he was trying to do there.
Yeah. Well, at least,
Um,
the lowest noise with the ISO. The one thing the cool thing with Lightroom anyways now is that you don't really have to worry about kind of overexposing the sky because you can control that to a point with the select
right,
sky function now, because you can just go select sky and drop the exposure and detail and whatever. But so yeah, so what I like to do is I like to get the photo to like a usable space first. So like right now we're in a usable space. Sometimes I actually like to just check like Adobe Color and Landscape and just see if there's a tone that I like, because these are all like a different starting point. And like I kind of like this landscape one because it already has like a different saturation in it.
right.
Um, Adobe Color is just going to be your base, so I'm just going to leave it there for now. But I probably would have switched this one to that landscape right away and just kind of started from there. And then the rest of it, starting point from there is just if you want to do a normal edit and just kind of like go through your photo and make it look better, that's one thing. Sometimes I actually like opening my presets and just seeing if there's something I like in my presets. And I know that that's kind of like, well, here's the thing with the new settings with Lightroom is they actually have new things now called like recommended, premium, and then your presets that you've saved or purchased or whatever. And like sometimes you'll click on a photo and just be like, I like that starting point. I'm going to start there. And I know that's kind of, you feel like that's kind of cheating and you're just jumping into someone else's like edit. But like that's kind of what Luminar is going to be doing, is a lot of AI stuff. So you can definitely go through some of these things and see if there's anything that's really cool. Like there's HDR, there's cinematic, which is usually never looks good on anything. Like this kind of actually looks like one of the ones I did earlier, Paul.
Right.
So, I mean, plus, if you have your own presets, like that's the one I did earlier. It's similar to that other one actually. But if you go through and you like love one of them, then just kind of go with it and start from there. If
That's
you
very
don't,
interesting.
and the cool thing is like you'll make edits on certain photos that will not work on other photos, but sometimes you put one on and you're like, it's different. I like it. It's a good artistic starting point. So it depends on what you're looking to do. So starting from this photo, let's just scroll down. I like the warmth, but I think this photo could use actually a little bit more warmth because there's a lot of like sunset going in the shadows or in the skyline. You can see it's kind of bringing up the green and the grass a little bit, and we'll
Right.
contrast that down a little bit with this saturation, and I might actually up my vibrance. By the way, vibrance kind of touches everything but your skin tones. That's what those dials really do. Sometimes I'll come back to colors. I personally don't like to over clarity stuff. Sometimes I actually go negative with clarity and then over sharpen it instead. But let's go right away down to this bottom, the optics. I don't know why they don't put this one at the top because this is like your lens corrections.
Right.
You can either do this or not. Like sometimes I like the not lens corrected version better than the lens corrections. So this is lens corrections. Clearly it actually brightened up that fence. And I kind of feel like it added a little bit of grain into the down at the bottom of the photo here. So I don't know if I like that. I kind of like the pin cushion a little bit and the built-in vignette that lens kind of has. the chromatic aberration, like I always kind of just click it anyways because it doesn't affect the photo if it's not needed, but sometimes you just don't notice what you're looking at, I guess. So
For sure.
So yeah, first let's see. So I'll come back up. Is there anything else? I kind of want to bring down those highlights a little bit more, but not much because you'll see it's affecting that fence that we're shooting behind.
Yeah.
You can up the whites to combat that. I'm going to darken my blacks a tiny bit. I think we can go with a little bit more exposure now that we drop those highlights. It depends on if you want to keep that fence look in there. If you want it, then that's fine. I kind of think he's trying to shoot it with a depth of field look here to almost remove the fence. So let's start with that. I'm actually going to lift these shadows a little bit more. Scroll down. The tint looks fine to me. This is kind of where I talked about like I kind of do colors and stuff a little bit more like an audio engineer. When you're like sweeping for EQs and stuff like that, what you normally do is you kind of go to the extreme and then find the like source and then come back. So like I'll jack up my saturation on these reds. You'll see the signs and like this train, the signs and everything else is going red. And then I'll kind of just sweep my color tones to see where I want that train to be sitting in the color wise. And I like it right there. And then what I do is I'll back that off until I just think it's just right. That's kind of my thing. And I always do that when I go to the extreme with the color or like go the other way so you can see what it's affecting. But if you do make a little move, sometimes you don't notice like in the background what it's doing. And you'll see here, this color is affecting these wheat in the sky a lot. But I'm looking at the train, so I'm not noticing what it's doing in the background. But when you start sweeping back and forth, you'll see everything it's doing in the photos just pops out at you. So I'm going to drop this so it's a little bit more of an orangish, reddish tone, and then bring that saturation down. Luminance, I'm going to screw with that later. We'll come back to that. Same thing with yellows. Bring that up. See where I want to sit the tone. I want it to look more like sunset, so I'm going to keep it in that orange range. Bring that saturation back. So it looks kind of cool. That's right there. Greens, depends on what you want to do. If you have grass in your photos, a lot of times it always just looks crappy. I hate grass in photos. So jack that thing up, see where the color looks cool, and then bring it back. I'm starting to get a little bit of this is a raw photo, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay. I'm starting to get some kind of weird artifacts
If
going in the grass.
you did it off the email that I sent you, right?
Yeah. So it depends on what you do. If you can notice the grass, if you just move this around, it's going to change. I'm going to take some of the green out, and then okay, I'm actually getting some weird artifacts in the sky, which is kind of weird. So we'll keep that alone. Typically, depending on if it's an outdoor sky photo, I will screw with my blues. If it's like an indoor studio shot, I almost remove the blues unless there's like a blue object in your frame. Because a lot of times, if you get rid of the blues, it makes all your blacks look better. In this case, it's going to make the sky look like, white. So we don't really want that necessarily. But I'll kind of see where my color range is. If you want that more cinematic look, I would go more towards that turquoise. Then drop.
Yeah, I mean, that was like a little bit of an orange and teal look there a little while.
Yeah. You'll notice that this, like the greenish blue turquoise one, sometimes never does anything, and you won't even notice it. That's why sometimes I'll just like straight remove it because it's just a tone you don't need. Purples and pinks hardly ever come into play. You'll see in this one, it's casting some. This is what I'm talking about. This stuff in the corner here. That's some weird kind of artifacts going on. I don't know if that's chromatic. So that's not doing anything there. I can't remember what they call that.
I was noticing there was a little bit of the gravel was kind of changing a little bit slightly.
Yeah, it's like fringing almost. But if you drop that down, is it going to get rid of it? No, it doesn't. I pretty much typically leave those alone, but unless it's like my background and it's purple, and let's see is there something, did I change one thing enough to where that screwed with that? I don't think I did. Yeah, we might have to noise reduction that. Like I said before, like you can go high with your clarity. The clarity is going to bring out that fence a lot. It's going to make stuff look highly detailed. Sometimes I'll go real easy with the clarity and then less with the sharpening. On this one, I'm actually going to keep my clarity at 0. I'm going to start by sharpening it a little bit here. And then I always mask to what I want. So if you hold down Option on Apple, you'll get to mask what you actually want to see here. So I want just the hard edges, and then I'm actually going to over sharpen that a lot. And then when you drop the clarity, you'll get an effect that looks like clarity, but like it over enhances your edges, although we're getting those weird artifacts still here. But when you do this, you kind of get this weird, almost like painted look where it looks, I don't know how to explain it. It almost just looks like a weird, it's a very soft but very sharp kind of sound. And then you can even pair that with a little bit of the noise reduction. Like if you use noise reduction, you're going to kill your sharpness. The color noise reduction, we might be able to fix that artifact with too, by the way. Let me see. Maybe not. This might just be, Paul, that artifact at the bottom might just be kind of a thing that's going to be there because of how much we had to lift the shadows.
It could be, yeah. It could be also that just it could be a little bit of the glare off of that little fence bar that he's kind of shooting in front of as well.
Yeah, so I'm gonna bring
I'm very interested to see if Luminar Neo could fully remove that fence. Because I know it has like a power lines removal. I'm kind of curious if we would think it's power lines or what, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, and if you want to get creative, you can use vignetting and stuff like this too. I never use vignette really because I like controlling that myself. So kind of we're in a spot where the photo is looking okay. I'm gonna drop the highlights a little bit more in the sky. Here's where, so on the side here, well, first off, by the way, if you're depending what you're going to edit this in, you're going to want to like change your crop. So if you're going to shoot an Instagram, you're probably going to want to put this to like a 5x4. If you're wanting to print this, I'd probably just keep it what do you have it at here. So sometimes when you crop too, you're going to be looking at, getting rid of some of that fence right there too. I don't know what he wants to edit this with, so I'm going to make this an Instagram banger instead. So
Instagram banger.
Let's get it aligned and get it level here. And then if I can get this more centered, I like centered. That's just me. Centered to rule of thirds. That's my jam. So I'm going to start by doing some gradients here. We can select subject. I know this is going to select the train and some of the tracks. It's kind of a goofy selection. I did this earlier. Depending on what you want to do with this, you can do some fun stuff. You can make these like tracks kind of glow more if you actually add a brush to it. So under subject, after you get the subject, you can add brush or gradient or whatever. And if you want, let me reduce my mouse. Sorry, I got a new mouse, Paul, so I can control these brush sizes now from the mouse.
Oh, I wanted to get that MX Master 3. It looks cool.
Although so we can like kind of draw on these lines here. I think that'll it'll look stupid until I do the gradient that I want to do. But my
You're
goal
going
is to
full out on this one.
Oh, trying to. You can do some basic. I just want to show you some of the stuff that you can do on top of that some people don't think of, and this is kind of also, like what we're doing here is we're kind of showing what we do with photos too. I kind of fucked up on that one here. I wish they had like a different style. Here we go. So here now we're isolating just the subject here. You can see.
True.
So
it's cool.
I like what it did to the tracks. I kind of don't like. I don't want to really raise the train anymore, but so I might actually subtract the train here. Why is it not subtracting here? Oh, I gotta add a brush. Okay, it's not letting me do that. Sometimes you get too close to the things and it won't let you do it. Well, let's just skip that then. Whatever. I'm going to bring this up a little bit because obviously the focus in this picture is the train, right?
Right.
Not the background. Train and maybe some of the sky. So let's bring that up. Let's screw that contrast to make that train pop. Highlights, I'm going to play with that and see what it does to the tracks. I kind of like that it chromes them out a little bit more. The shadows I'm going to leave alone. The whites are going to bring up those train tracks. Let's do that. And then I'm actually going to do the blacks down because that's going to contrast those bright parts up a little higher. Saturation, do we want to make that train like stupid saturated? I don't know. Maybe not. And this is where you can add that clarity into the parts that we want really showing a lot. So I'm going to hit enter. And then I am going to go with a gradient also because so on this mask thing, you can keep adding masks on top of each other. You can make them change the intersection so that it doesn't affect the mask below it or above it. I'm going to go with a radial. This is just going to give us a little bit of a depth of field. All I'm going to do is just drop my exposure a tiny bit to drop that bottom, and this might help get rid of some of those saturation. Can't remember what they call those things. Weird artifacts. All right, so let's see. So if you click mask and you can do select sky now, and this is going to just kind of do a little bit what Luminar is going to do. Luminar, you can change skies, I believe, though, right? On yours in the program. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you can do that. You can see it's a little bit, some of it came on the building. The other thing you can do if you don't want to do that is you can hit create mask and then do luminance range. And that's going to be kind of the same thing. You just click on the thing here and it's going to put anything that has this luminance, it'll select as well.
That's cool.
So that's kind of shows you, obviously sky, you would just do that, but you can do the same thing. Or if like you see an object in here that you want to, like capture the luminance of, it'll just pick that up throughout the whole picture as well. This one did just isolate to the sky. So, but you can also do the same thing with this color range. And this is something that's new to Lightroom as well, where you can click a color and now it's going to highlight anything that, oh, that's weird. So it's picking up the warmth of the grass instead of the color. So let's definitely not do that one. I'm going to go back to sky just because that does a good job. And if you need to clean it up, because sometimes the sky will bleed into the foregrounds, that's where you just do subtract, like brush, and then just like brush out that stuff.
Yeah, we had somebody in the chat saying that it's hard to tell sometimes with these photo edits since we're in 1080 or 720.
Oh, that's true.
We're capped out at 720, not 4K, but we are aware it's just really expensive to get those licenses to stream in 4K. And right now we're just kind of building this channel up and building up the stream and seeing what's working and what's not. So we're just bear with us. But yeah, I appreciate the input. Yeah, we know that 4K. We haven't done any photo editing before. We were just trying this out for the first time tonight.
Yep.
But
so Paul, the sky on this one is kind of blue. We can make it more blue. I feel like that takes away from the train. We can warm this thing up and make it a little bit more sunsetty, and I kind of like that. I'm going to go with that. I don't like making big moves. If you have clouds and stuff, that's where I'd screw with this clarity and dehaze. In fact, I wonder if dehaze will get rid of the fence a little bit. That kind of does. So, so that's a decent edit, maybe. I don't know. I'm going to check one other thing. I would maybe even zoom in on that one a little bit more to make it bigger. But my go-to that I do on a lot of photos is I like to do a lot of these radial gradients. So start with a circle. It's going to be a little bit of a vignette. Let me drop that down a little bit and then invert. And then just drop your exposure until you like what you're seeing. And
I like that. That looks really cool.
What this does is it really focuses your eyes towards, it forces the person to focus to what you want them to focus on. If that makes sense. Because when it's normal, you're just like, everything's in focus. I don't know what to look at. Like, oh, look at that cat, that crane that's on the side of the building. But when you start doing this, making it subtle even, it's really just like, boom, you're looking at the train. That's what I want you to look at.
Right. You're kind of that focus on the subject.
Cool thing with this too is that if you go back and crop something later and make this let's say you make this picture like way bigger, that radial is going to redo itself for that aspect. So now that radial should be proportionate to what you just did. So you can see it's still there. In fact, I might even at this point make it smaller then, a tiny bit more,
Right.
because now we have less background. So really depends on how much you want to force that look. And sometimes you have to go too dark. Like I'm going to go dark here to where it's too much. And then I'll actually go back and then just up my exposure a tiny bit. And that'll make that middle part almost kind of glow. And then if you really want to add a little bit more, you just lift those shadows a tiny bit more. And now it's neutralizing that vignette a little bit. You can see how kind of like how distinct it is here when it's black. But then when you lift that shadow, that forced radial gradient kind of isn't as obvious.
Yeah, it looks really cool.
So I like doing a lot of that forced stuff. And the cool thing is that if you don't have the photo centered, or you want, like you're trying to take focus of this building, like it's cool what you can
Right.
do, how that works. So that's kind of my style with the way I like to edit photos. But also like sometimes there's no wrong way to do it. Like let's save this real quick so I can, if someone, I don't know if anyone wants these photos back or not, but Paul, whoever said,
Yeah, I figured we would spend them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Depends on which
Yeah,
one you save this for. I'm gonna. I don't need to save this as a TIFF. I'm just gonna. We'll just save it as a JPEG.
We're running a little bit at a time, but I'll go ahead and open up Luminar and
Yeah.
we'll just see. I'm like I said, I'm a pretty simplistic kind of person. I don't really go too crazy on my edits. And once again, this is my first time using Neo, so I uploaded a lot of these photos that we wanted to try out. But here is one. I'll just try to do a really quick edit of the exact same photo, just so we can kind of see what the main differences are.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, some of these tools I'm not even sure what a lot of these are. So looks like we have a new tool in here. So they're just labeling these out. So label, let's see here, light, exposure. So these are all the same exact tools. Obviously, this affects the whole image, increasing the exposure. But like we said, when you do that with the sky, it really messes with that. So I'm gonna just leave this alone for now, and I'm going to go straight. One of the things I really love about Luminar is that just this accent, and I kind of do my stuff just like Kyle, where I like to turn it all the way up to see kind of what it does and how it affects the image, and then I just usually will bump it down. So I see it's doing some stuff. I mean, sky enhancer really changes the color of that sky, but the first thing I really, really, really want to do is relight this image, because as you can see, it's really kind of like dull in the main section over here, and the sky is super bright. So we're gonna mess with this depth tool and brightness near, so we can kind of increase this. I want to see where that is. Okay, so it doesn't. We need to add a little bit more depth to that. Let's see here, and you can see it's only adding it in this lower section of this picture, but like in Lightroom there, you can see there's some like chromatic aberration and noise just because of the exposure was really low in that other one. So I'm just going to keep increasing this to see how far up it's going to add. I like I said, I never used this feature before. Let's see where far goes. So far kind of goes the whole image, where you can do this near, and you can select the depth to see how far back it goes. So we can, obviously, if you go the depth all the way up, it's gonna even. It seems like it's kind of stuck on this fence here a little bit. Huh.
Yeah,
So
I noticed that.
I never used.
Mine was
never
definitely
used
doing
these
that same thing, I think.
But we can kind of, I don't know. This is what it was before. This is what it was after. It's a little bit better, but I think the fence is really causing this picture to screw up a little bit more. I'm really curious. Let's see here. There is a power line remove. Oh, erase tool. I'm just curious if it'll think this fence is like a power line and try to remove it, or if it's going to just remove all the power lines over here. And like I said, this is my first time using this new software, and I do miss the up here on. Okay, so it did not. Well, it removed some of this fence. It looks like, thinking it was. Let's see here. Interesting. I wonder if I could like
I imagine
draw
it.
it in.
Yeah, I imagine this is kind of doing what Photoshop has with content aware.
I'm imagining too. It'll be kind of curious to see how better or worse it does. But and I mean, I think the fence was part of the stylistic thing of this photo. But okay, yeah, that was completely terrible. So you can just click restore, and plus my brush was a little bit too. Come on, maybe. Oh, interesting. See how it did
took
to
rid
the
of the tracks, yeah. That's
took
why
out some
sometimes
of
toggling on off effects is important, because you don't notice. Sometimes you're looking at one thing and you don't notice it's doing something to the other.
So I'm just gonna completely go back to that. I was just curious if it would do any of that. And it says dust spots, but there's not really any dust spots on here. I've seen demos of this, and it does a really great job with dust spots. So if you do have a image where you're kind of stuck with that structure AI, I really like structure AI. How it, like, you can see what it kind of, I don't know, just adds I don't know if it's like a sharpness or a clarity, but it's some, I don't know. It's AI, so you can boost it. You can bring it down a little bit. It seems like boosting it brings up a little bit of the HDR kind of darkness look there. And then obviously color, vibrance, color cast, the same tools that you were using in Lightroom there. Details, this is all the sharpening, so you know, I don't know. I sometimes will add some sharpening to my stuff. I like the sky features. I'm not really doing a full edit. I'm kind of doing a demo of how this looks, but now I'm really curious to see how this will work with this. See, that was the other thing I was worried about with images like this. Replacing the sky doesn't seem to work very well, because as you can see, it took out that whole spot of the. And you can sure go into mask refinement and close gaps, but it's just, I don't know. I think this is a really hard image to replace the sky, and that it's just not going to be possible. But they have a nice chunk of skies in here, so I'm just going to go back to this and just remove that sky. I was actually looking forward to. I was hoping the sky tool would actually work, but what in the world? Why can't I remove back? I'm just gonna. Come on. Be part of a. Usually there's a little thing where I can go back and remove all my edits, which is kind of weird. Maybe this is just a flaw with the. Right now, this is the beta version of Neo. I really like I've been my workflow has totally been AI, and so look, I don't even have a sky selected right now. Okay, there's a flaw. Oh, it added the original sky. No, that didn't add the original sky back. It still has a sky over top of it. Ugh. So yeah, look, looks like there's still some. This is in a demo or a beta, and I really wanted to try it on this photo to see how well some of these tools work, but I'm not doing them any favors right now. It looks like.
Yeah.
Let's go to another. I'm just gonna. So I shot. Let's see here. Let's see this one. So this was a Canon photo. Ooh. And nighttime photo, and look at that. Look at those like stars. He must have been shooting at a high shutter speed there. Let's see what I'm curious what that. Yeah, 30 seconds. So when you shoot at the higher shutter, you get those nice little star, and this is at f32. So
Wow,
I'm not really
f32
great at
on a
nighttime
night
photos.
picture.
What's that?
That feels like it's a high aperture for nighttime. I guess 30-second. That'll probably do it, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't think that you would shoot something like that. And what's cool in Luminar too, you can add some of these, and maybe I'll try to add it on this one over here just to see. But so the accent, eh,
Is this a raw
it
photo?
brings. What's that?
Is this a raw photo?
Is it a what kind of photo?
Is this a raw photo or is this a JPEG?
Oh, let's see. I think it is. Let's see. Yeah, it's a raw.
Okay.
It's Canon raw. It's even more special.
Well, it's to say whatever that thing you just did, it kind of like blew out the area around it. So that's what I was wondering.
So this kind of photo, you might want to bump up a little bit of the light when you're in the near section, but I don't know. This is a very interesting. This would be cool to replace a nighttime sky, and see if you can make it look even more, whatever. But let's see. Oh, sun rays. That's what I was going to show. So you can even place a sun. So you can like say I want this light to look like it's lighting up, even though it's not, and then I can adjust the amount. So obviously that's way too big. And you can change the length, so I can try to match that glare right there a little bit more. And I could even it's there penetrate. You can choose how much penetration it has. So let's just go there, and you can even change like the radius.
Oh, hold
Or
up, Paul. Sorry.
what's that?
I was trying to move the pictures around and I screwed up the framing. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm not using this right.
And then the warmth. So let's try to match. I'm just want to match those other ones to see how well I can get it. Let's see here. It seems like it's not nearly as bright though.
Hard part too is it's not the same style like flare.
Right.
Can you change that?
But yeah, I don't know. But it's you can do stuff like interesting stuff like this. So yeah, so you just gotta keep tweaking it, and I don't know. With I don't know why that won't disappear. Anyways, that's cool. Oh, there we go. That disappeared. But shoot. Structure AI. I like structure for this kind of stuff. Now I'm really curious about sky. Tweaking a lot of these things. More skies. Oh, shoot. Didn't mean that. I have a lot of skies in okay. Starry Night. So let's see. Well, I had more in my other one, but maybe I haven't uploaded them yet. Well, that's interesting. That kind of looks kind of cool, actually. If we could like adjust it a little bit more. Why is it like I can't? There we go. There's some little bit of glitches with this new.
It's really kind of screwing with those flares too.
It is. It almost makes them look like transparent.
Well, it's trying to wrap the image around it and stuff, so makes sense.
It's a very HDR look right here. Interesting. I don't know. Interesting. Let's just go back. Oh, come on. Another one where it messes up. I'm gonna have to complain about this one. It's not removing this stuff. Yeah, see, there's some Oh, interesting. But it's still not removing it, which is really weird. Oh, there we go. And then you can go into sun rays.
Yeah, this looks very new to me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm still getting used to it too, so it's very interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how. I really like the flow of AI versus this. This is kind of interesting. And there's I mean, the relight thing is really cool. If when it actually works, denoise. You can add a little bit of denoise to this thing, but I mean I like how this image, like just the color, he did a really good job of shooting this. And like you said, it's interesting that he got a really low shutter speed for this, and a high aperture. So you needed that low shutter speed with that high aperture, but interesting. Okay, enhance. So it enhanced that sky a little bit. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I'm not in love with Neo as much as I am AI, but I guess it's just because I'm so used to editing with AI. And a lot of these I love these like structure tools. You probably see a lot better. See how in the grain of this picture, I usually, I don't know, I love cranking up that. I love this enhanced AI. So obviously you're going for like a super HDR look, but
Yeah, to me, the
I like
accent on enhance is kind of like the clarity dial a little bit with a little bit of like a saturation boost, kind of.
Yeah, and when I do this, I typically will go back to color, and I might bump that saturation down a little bit, and I keep some of those other details that it enhances, like on this structure. It does a really good job, and on the ground. But then I don't get that super big punch out of the image. I'm more of a vibrance guy. I like to mess with the vibrance more than I do the saturation. Um, man, this photo actually looks really good with very little editing. He did a great job of shooting this shot, and I think the sky looks really cool. Um,
I did a quick edit on this one too, and mine's very opposite. I went very punchy, which is kind of funny you said that.
because usually I go really punchy, don't I? And I
Yeah.
love this. I love this slider for Luminar. It has this like golden hour stuff. Now, I really like using golden hour on like shots with like a lake, and I use this slider a lot for those Minnesota shots that I posted up on Instagram.
Hmm.
And this foliage is really cool too. It just adds a little bit. You can go really crazy. It's interesting. It's actually adding in a little bit to that metal structure too, but you can add a little bit of that stuff in there. I do a little bit of sharpening as well. But man, I don't know. I really like this photo looks really great. I mean, and you can just do a lot of crazy dramatic stuff.
So you can add like fog and things like that with the atmosphere. Is that what that?
Yep. So atmosphere, there's fog, there's layered fog, there's mist and haze. So you can and the cool thing about it is too. So see where it's kind of you can change the depth too. So right now
Okay.
it's like all in the background over the mountains. And if you want to pull it out in front of the structure, you just turn the depth up. But if you really want it to be back, maybe only just slightly in the sky, add a little bit more haze to the sky, you can do that. Or the mountains, So that's cool. You can also add fog, which, haze and fog. Let's see what the difference between them are. Yeah, see the fog in the sky. And you can just pull that depth all the way up and just really. But I don't know who'd want. It takes, you probably would want to do it more so on the
Yeah.
like I said, like the the lake shots and stuff like that, where you want to maybe just add a little bit to your background. Here you would just, I don't know. I like adding them sometimes to like the mountain peaks behind you, and just really just mess with that depth. But mist, and then I don't know. I did like a little bit of that haze in the background, but the fog and all that stuff. I'm gonna we'll go back to that haze. I like the haze look. That was nice a little bit.
See, one thing that's in Lightroom that you can kind of do now is you can kind of select like different structures. So I could actually like do a selection on the mountains and then like either dehaze or add haze to that as well. And then sometimes when you have like, there's that one mountain shot I had where it had several layers kind of jumping in front of each other. And I would select each one of those layers and then kind of just edit them individually. And that's kind of something that looks like you can do here, but here it's more of like a slider dial, which is kind of cool. So,
right. And you can add a little bit of that lightness to the gravel if you want to just increase that a little bit. The cool thing about this relight is that you can really just tweak it where you want it to go without having to. And the cool thing is, whatever is not, they don't have that tool. Some of these tools you can actually see where the crop. I thought I saw it on some of these. You can actually see where the mask is that it's doing an AI, and so you can adjust it in that way. You know, there's toning and there's mood here. This is where you can add your own little LUTs or whatever. But mystical, make the shot a little bit, add them into the shadows or decrease them a little bit. Smoothness. I don't really mess with these tones too much. Only time I do that is if there's like, I like AI where it has like I said, kind of presets you can choose between. You can add some film grain to this. So if you want it to look a little more really old photo, that's going really crazy, but
oh, thank you.
it kind of works for this particular shot too. But yeah, so that's, I mean, there are a lot of the same tools. It's just learning a little bit how the different layouts from AI.
Mm-hmm.
I really like let's pull this guy. I shot this at Camera Camp, and this is Connor. I really like the portrait features for this. So I can go into his skin and I can, AI enhance this, and it kind of gets you to a decent starting point. I'm surprised. Man, there's some settings here that were, so in AI, I can actually light there was a spot to add light his face. I wonder if they haven't added it yet. You can add shine removal, you can do skin defects, but there was even more stuff. So I'm guessing this is just the demo. So
I wonder if the demo is like creating like it like locked. It like locks those settings so you can't use them until you.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. In AI, there's a way I can actually go to his face and light it up so that you can make it punch more.
I didn't get that photo from you, but same thing with Lightroom now too. There's that select subject, and it'll like, especially when you have a hard depth of field, it'll just like pop right on that person. And then you can totally edit them separate from the background, which is really cool. That's one thing that has always been tough. Like sometimes you have too dark of a person and way too bright of a background, and you just can't do anything with it unless you cut it out and make 2 layers and Photoshop. But now you can just like select subject and just go right back to it. And I did do, while you were doing that, Paul, I did actually do, let's go to here. I did a quick edit on this one. See,
I like that a lot. Yeah.
I like going poppy with stuff, where, you just kind of oversaturate stuff a little bit. And I like where the mountains go orange and you get a lot of the yellows in the grass and stuff like that. And, but yeah, I didn't do any split toning on it, by the way, like color grading. This is a function too that I feel like by the time I get to this, I've already kind of made a lot of the moves I want to make in the color adjustments on Lightroom. So I kind of skip doing that altogether sometimes. But if you actually wanted to, I do the same thing where I go hard saturation to figure out what you want and then back it off. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Because you can see what it's affecting, and then just
I really like the
minimum.
the color toning in that image. You did a really great job with that.
Let's go.
It's really cool
I'm
looking
always
structure. It almost looks like a transformer there.
Yeah, and this is like a very. It's one of those where you like soften the clarity, but then like, I mean, right here actually upped the clarity, but normally I do these like I soften the clarity and over sharpen it, and that kind of balances each other out, but it doesn't look too, because when you up the clarity too much, it makes the gravel and just everything look like garbage sometimes. So, and then even this one, like because this image is so like the focal point too, like this is where you would do those like linear gradients and like, you know, maybe trace the road. And I think you can actually try to do the subject trace on the road.
Yeah.
But this is where I kind of will like back the road down a little bit, just so it like refocuses your eyes towards what you're trying to get. But that subject thing, and this is something that and even people who have Lightroom, this is all really new, and it's really cool that it does this, like Luminar. But this one you have to do a little bit more manually. But see here, totally highlights that subject now, and it does a really good job. And you can just add that little bit extra to, like, you want to add highlights to the structure now, and you know, it's night and day. And this is my before and after, by the way. So I did add quite a bit of punch to it, and I threw a little bit of magenta into the tones as well, which is
That's good stuff. Yeah. Somebody was
just like
asking in the chat about
there was one photo I was going to add in. We were going to add is it for Ariel?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can quick do that one here if he wants to see a photo.
He'd love to see that, yeah.
This one isn't. Why does it say it's added? Oh, I actually added it, and it's on a different page. That's why. Here it is. Let's get this sucker zoomed in. Shoot, why is it way over there? Come back. New mouse, Paul.
Fail.
So this one is a PNG from a drone. What drone is this on, by the way?
One Vision. What drone are you shooting with this?
It doesn't tell me what it's on, but it tells me so this one is a pretty low resolution. It's 17 by 68 by 9, or 1768 by 932. Just so you guys know, there's a new function in Lightroom now. It's called Enhance. It's just under Enhance at the bottom here under Photo. This is how you like double the resolution of your photos. So for all you A7S3 shooters like me, or A7S3, you want to make your photos look more like 24 megapixel, click that Enhance button. And it does a really good job. I don't know if you've done this yet, Paul, if you've used this, but
I like it's great with the A7S3, like you said, because I think 12 megapixels look great, but it's really nice to have that extra megapixels when especially you're trying to get something blown up bigger.
In this photo, it looks like and maybe he gave like a weird version of it, but it's a little almost like pixelated or soft. So I don't know how perfect it's going to do, but now if we look at that image size, it should be double. Why is it not doing it? Hold on. Am I not selected on the photo here? Super res. Maybe I wonder if it only does this to raw photos. It shouldn't, but it's not like rendering like it normally does. Okay, so clearly in this photo, Paul, our subject is this church. So let's just do a quick one. See where we can start with. I'm actually, this one goes to different profiles right away. That's kind of weird. Let's see. A lot of drone shots don't really need a lot of editing if they're in well-lit areas. So like I don't need to really up the shadows because I think that looks kind of bad. Actually, might drop the shadows a bit. At this point, whites are just kind of controlling our brightness, I think. I always kind of just start with an S curve and just see where it's at. Lift my bottoms up a tiny bit. See where I want the highlights. In fact, the highlights I think look fine. This looks like the sun's setting a little bit, so we can go warmer if you want. I'm going to actually add a little magenta to this drone shot. It looks a little... Actually, let's white balance this. So when you do the white balance, just obviously find something that's in your frame that's white. Hopefully pure white if you can. He was pretty white balanced on the shot, it looks like. I'm going to start with the greens because there's a lot of greens in here. Let's see what we want to do with the greens. Do we want to desaturate those greens, Paul?
Probably.
I am never a fan of bright, obnoxious greens because they just look too fake.
Too fake?
Cameras have a really hard time with greens, and that's every camera. Let's see, luminance, we can screw with that a little bit. Okay. So oranges are our next color. We want to make that church pop, so let's see. I don't know if it's supposed to be kind of a reddish brick, but we're going to make it a little bit of a reddish brick. Okay, is there anything red? There's a couple things red in this photo, but it's fine. So this is a PNG, which means you really can't push this photo a lot because the colors are going to break apart really fast.
Yeah, I'm
raw
noticing
file,
that too.
so-
I'm trying to edit a little bit in Luminar AI, open up AI because I'm a little more comfortable with that, and it is kind of not nearly as flexible as the raws. Or when you start pushing the foliage, I'm trying to do mine a little bit more yellow, and I'm noticing that it's just kind of making it a little smudgy.
Let's not do that clarity dial. A lot of these drones too will over sharpen stuff. So I don't like this blue. Let's get rid of that. Let's skip the color toning. Yeah, drone shots are always a weird thing to edit, I think, sometimes, just because it depends on the drone, but they are smaller sensors. They have... It doesn't know what this is, so it's not doing any corrections. It's grainy, so let's add some noise reduction. Let's sharpen a little bit of the edges. Wow, this thing PNGs just do weird things in here, Paul. I've never edited a PNG before, actually. I feel like it shouldn't do anything different, but let's get a little bit of a vignette there. The blues. So in this case, if you notice, the roofs are reflecting a lot of the blue colors. Maybe you don't see it in the video. I don't see anything that's like blue in the actual picture, so I'm actually going to kill the blue completely. And you'll see all those reflections go back, and now the roofs are all looking gray like they should. The sky's not blue. It's very overcast, so it's not really showing anyways. And then maybe even bring the luminance down on that too. Like I said before, like getting rid of the blues sometimes just helps quickly. Yeah, this one's a hard one because I can't push this photo too hard without it kind of getting weird. I'm just going to try my radial gradient right away and just see what we can do here. And then invert it. This would be a minimal one, but let's create that focus on that church. Let's go a little too dark and then come back and brighten up the main image. I was trying to add some warmth into this photo, Paul, like some like sunset vibes, but because our main image, like subject, is kind of orange, it doesn't really work well.
Right.
You have that golden hour thing, so I would be interested to see what that does.
Yeah, I'll show you some a little bit. My hard part is it's really kind of, and because it's not a raw, it's hard to adjust that. It's really hard to adjust that exposure on the church with that sunbeam going through it.
So here I have that select subject thing, and it actually picked up the church exactly the way I wanted it to. So I'm gonna drop that exposure, and I'm going to drop that saturation because the church is getting too weird when I try to change that orangish saturation. Oh, let's not screw with that. That was bad. Yeah, I think this is as far as I'm going to go with this one without it getting too weird, but it's going from lots of kind of icky greens, and it dials that down, and you can see I added a little bit of that magenta tone, which maybe is too much, but that kind of softens that green a little bit. So it's a little different. It's not my best by any means. This is where maybe you would jump into like Photoshop,
Right.
and like screw with that sky a little bit. And I think you can do that straight in Luminar, which is a nice feature. The one thing when you have to think about when you do a lot of those sky replacements, though, is like notice where the sun is coming from in the sky, and then make sure that it's not on the opposite side of where your shadows are, because people do that a lot. And it's always funny when there's sun's on the left side of the picture, but all the shadows are going to the right or the left, and you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. I don't have many different sky replacement packs. In fact, I think I deleted my last one. But this is where, because that drone, like, it was cut off at the top and it wasn't really getting a lot of skies, and we kind of destroyed the image. We're gonna cheat and put in some cool skies. This is one of my favorite ones, is these ridiculously pink ones, but like I said, you have to make sure the sun's on the right side of the sky.
Right.
Which I think you can flip in Photoshop, and you could probably flip that in can you flip that in Luminar as well?
Wow, you know what's really funny? I haven't been focusing too much on your stuff, but here I'll show you what I have in Luminar. This is kind of where I'm at with the image in Luminar right now.
Let me get
So
back.
kind
to
of
it.
similar style, right? I mean, going for that really golden hour-y vibe.
Yep.
I don't like pushing it too much. I was trying to replace the sky, but it's really weird. There's like this line across the top, and I don't know why I did that. I could probably like cut it out with the composition a little bit and like maybe bump this down like this, so where it cut that out, and then I can go down to my sky removal or sky here and try to turn this sunset one on that I kind of found that matches it a little bit. But then you gotta you can flip it and all that stuff, but obviously, and it relights it too. See, notice when you do this, it kind of relights all this, like the sun is really in that area. So it is kind of cool, that aspect of it. But let's just flip it back. This kind of looks more natural. I move the sun out of the shot so that because you can clearly see that the sun is on this direction over here, aiming towards the church. So it just looked kind of cheesy to have a sun in the background.
Right.
And you can change all this reflection amount too. So you can crank this up and really beef out that. The scene relighting here is great. See, I'm used to this. I'm so used to AI versus Neo, and this is where you can really refine the mask that it does. But I mean, overall, this is, I don't know, a more sunset sky. I need to defocus it a little bit more probably. But the problem is it's hard to add a little bit of grain in it to kind of match in with the photo.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem, like you said, it's a PNG, so this quality is not super great. And you can mess with the warmth of the sun or of the sky. You can make it a little bit more warm. But then when you start doing too much of that stuff, it really adds a lot of noise. So
small moves on anything that's not raw photos, really. I did find a sky that I liked, Paul, by the way.
you found a sky? Let's see it.
Yeah. I might have to flip it though. I think it looks like the sun's supposed to be coming from the outside. So.
Oh yeah, I like it. Yeah, it looks good.
I don't know what this is. This might be something that's in the actual sky replacement photo, but normally you would go in here and tweak all that anyways. So I found one really funny one that was like super ominous, like a tornado was about to hit or something. And let's get rid of that. So, but anyways, yeah, photo editing, it's fun. I like doing it a lot, and you can really change a look of a photo dramatically just by doing a couple different moves. So that's what I like about using
Yeah,
Lightroom and
absolutely. I
things
mean,
like
it's
that.
just, it's so, there's not really a right or wrong way. And as you can see, especially with me and new Luminar, I'm kind of fumbling through a lot of these edits, and it's just really whatever you guys, like the best. It's
Mhm.
really a bunch of trial and error, and depending, I feel like with Luminar, for those really quick Instagram just push outs, I can, at least with AI, I'm really comfortable with it, and I can just move around a lot of sliders, get a look that I like, boom, get it up on there, and also use a lot of their templates and modify it a little bit more, and I can get stuff done like super quick. So I'm really hoping that Luminar Neo adds a lot of AI back into there with the same sort of functionality,
Mhm.
but we'll see what happens. It's not supposed to come out until like the end of February, maybe middle March.
That's for the
Yeah, we
Neo.
spent a lot of time here tonight, a little bit 30 minutes over what we normally do, but that is the whole. Maybe we would like to do more of these. If you guys really enjoyed this, let me know. I do enjoy doing videos like this. It's just they are a little bit longer and time consuming, and I'm okay with that if you guys are. So,
Mhm.
um,
Paul, is
so
there a
anyway,
way in Luminar to save like your settings to apply to like a group of photos?
there are, yes.
Okay, so it's gonna be similar
And
to
you can
Lightroom where I can.
and so I can go into, I'll just quickly show you. I can actually go into, say I like the settings of this photo here. I can actually go back to my catalog, and I can Control C, and I can paste it onto this one of myself, and you'll see how it changes it eventually. Now those are the same settings, believe it or not, but it's hard, it's a way completely different picture. But
Mhm.
that's how I do it for when I do my real estate edits. I will find one that I like, and then I will just go back to my catalog and copy and paste right over on top of all the other ones, and at least have a great starting point, to, if they're not, I'd come the exact way I want them, but I would have at least a good starting point. So I don't
Right.
know, it's really easy to do so like that. I just go back to the catalog, copy, paste, 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 and you can paste it on all the templates you want. So
Hmm.
it's really neat.
I tend to like either copy settings or just create a preset. And that way, if I have a group of photos like that, I'll just apply it. I'll just right away jump right into the preset, paste it, and then make my adjustments to there. So that's been my
Yeah.
go-to for Lightroom. So, and then that's why it's nice about saving presets is sometimes you go back and you just scroll through your presets. Sometimes you find an edit, you're like, I wouldn't have made those moves, but I like how it looks. So,
Yeah. Sometimes it takes seeing what other people do to figure out what you like. So that's why I love
mhm,
watching other people edit. It's great to see. I like seeing your photos, and I really like some of the things that you do, especially with the gradient tools and everything, and how you make things pop.
mhm.
And I don't know, you're making me like photos. I used to be a super high saturated HDR kind of a guy. You can probably notice that on a lot of my photos, but
Yeah.
after seeing a lot of your stuff, I'm like, ooh, maybe I need to want to tone some of the stuff down, and let's get some more yellows and autumn
Yeah.
colors inside this foliage. But
Well, the one thing that someone told me before is that like when you're behind the camera, you're setting up your composition. When you're behind your edit, you're reestablishing your composition and focusing the person to like. That's why a lot of times it's force the person to see what you want them to see.
right,
And sometimes maybe it doesn't take much. Maybe your composition does that enough. But sometimes if you have a lot going on, force them to do that by doing different vignetting or gradient tools or whatever, and you'll get some kind of cool. I don't know. That's something I think even Peter McKinnon does a lot. Is he does a lot of radial gradients because he wants you to look at one thing, and that's like you can do them a couple times on the screen too, which is really cool. So Hey, Paul,
I
before we
appreciate
leave,
everybody stopping by. And if we didn't get to your photo, I'm sorry. Maybe we'll have to try again next time. But I think we at least showed a lot of the photos and breezed through a lot of them very quickly. I know I destroyed, some of people's with that Neo, but at least you can kind of see what Neo is trying to do. I'll definitely be doing more videos in depth of Neo once it fully comes out and I'm comfortable using it. So I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, you have anything else you'd like to close us out with, Kyle?
do you want me? I can send you the photo, Paul, because I don't know photos. We can like post them on Instagram if people want to see them, I guess, too, because I know the quality of the video is really crappy. So on here,
Yep.
the stream. So
We'll reach out to those people, see if they're okay with us posting them on
yeah, right.
Instagram,
Correct. Yeah.
and then
Well, I would credit them either way, but
we can post them on your Instagram. Just send me those photos. I'll get those to those people that you edited photos for, so they can see your take on their photos. And then I'll go ahead and ask them if we can post them, and maybe you'll post them up on your Instagram. So make sure you follow Kyle and I on Instagram. Most likely you'll be if you want to see a lot of these in a better quality. Just check out Kyle's Instagram. He'll be posting up a lot of these. Given that if the people are okay with us doing so. So appreciate you guys all joining us tonight. It's been a late night. Got a little bit 30 minutes over than normally, but a lot of you guys have been sticking with us through this whole edit, and we really appreciate you guys. So we'll see
Paul,
what next week has to bring for us. What's that?
So my next video that's coming out next week here, I was just gonna say, if you guys want to see a little sneak peek of the intro.
Oh yeah. Let's see it.
We did a little bit of a teaser that we did a whole live stream on this, but let's just see what the teaser here. That's a little sneak
Very
peek.
nice. It's a really cool gimbal. So if you guys want to see more about that gimbal and see that video, check. I know we did a stream about it, him unboxing and showing a little bit about it, but he's got a depth video showing more about that. And so go subscribe to Kyle. Check him out. Man, it's been great. Been a fun night, a long night of editing, and it's definitely past my bedtime. I got to get up early tomorrow for work, but I appreciate everybody hanging out, and you guys know that we'll see you all in the future.
One shot, now the future is yours. Go! One shot for the kill, the breeze come freeze up, straight dropping the kills. I'm talking taking over pieces and shares. A bomb break sky high, check the movement is here. Yeah, it's one hard